There's a fire stalling in my heart, reaching the fever pitch, is bringing me out the dark. Finally, I can see you crystal clear. Go ahead and sell me out in the all-a ocean bare. See how I leave with every piece of you. Don't underestimate the things that I will do. There's a fire stalling in my heart, reaching the fever pitch, is bringing me out the dawn. The scars of your love remind me of us, that keep me thinking that we almost had it all. The scars of your love will leave me breathless. I can't help feeling we could have had it all. Rolling in the deep, you had my heart inside of your hand, and you played it to the beat, to the beat. Baby, I've had no story to be told, but I've heard one, and I'm gonna make your head burn. Think of me and the depths of your despair, making a home that way, and I know how she shares. The scars of your love remind me of us, they keep me thinking that we almost had it all. The scars of your love will leave me breathless. I can't help feeling we could have had it all. Rolling in the deep, you had my heart inside of your hand, and you played it by the part to the beat. Could have had it all. Rolling in the deep, you had my heart inside of your mind, but you played it by the part to the beat. Throw your soul to every open door, count your blessings to find what you look for. Turn my soul into treasure gold.